Hey team, it's James at Workshop Software. How you doing? Just got off the connection with the Industry Leaders Forum with the AAAA. It was an awesome forum, some really exciting news that came to light through the forum, and I wanted to give you just a little bit of an insight into some of the exciting things that came from it. I really would love you to watch this right to the very end because there's some gold in here that I just want to make sure that you make and take action on. So hear me out right to the very end. So first up, the minister, the assistant treasurer did a bit of a speech. He's actually announced that they're going to take the data sharing to Parliament, and so that looks like that law is going to get passed. It still needs to go through Parliament, but it's massive news for our industry, so that's really, really exciting. Certainly the AAAA were very, very excited about that, and that was something that they've been working on for many, many years. There's been various things about that and now it's finally going to go and be passed as law, which will be a massive, big improvement, big a leverage point for us as an industry, which is really, really exciting. But what I also wanted to touch on was some of the points that was raised by David Fraser, who's the CEO of Capricorn, who was one of the speakers at this particular event as well. And he touched on some things that I really, really want to share with you guys. Capricorn have put together a industry survey, and it's actually publicly available, and I'll give you the link to that. But that survey highlighted numerous things, and David gave a bit of an appraisal about what that particular survey did. And so I wanted to give you just a couple of insights into that. So first of all, one of the big things was charging what you're worth, right? So, you know, customers not charging to the level of what they should be charging, and that was a really important point. There was a bit of challenge around price comparison websites and what they might do in the future. So that was something to look out for into the future about what they might do, and how we can either embrace or challenge or get involved with those price comparison websites and what that might have from a customer's perspective, and how we as an industry can deal with those sorts of things. And part of the reason why I mentioned that particularly was because there was a big chat about the online presence and being able to have your customers book online, which was a very, very important part. The numbers were 75% of customers come from online, and customers want to book online as well, which was a really big takeaway from David's report, which was super, super important. So that online presence that you guys have is something that you really need to look into. If you're an existing customer of Workshop Software, you've got to be using the online bookings. And if you need some help with that, you don't have to be using our booking diary either. You can just do online bookings without using the booking diary. If you want help on that, please contact me and I'll put you in touch with the right team member who'll be able to give you free help on that to get your bookings up and running. Super, super, super important. The other one, which is just like it's a bit of we call them blinding flashes of the obvious. They're just obvious once you realize, but and you know this stuff, but without being reiterated it's something that just slips your mind, and that was margin versus markup, right? So what sort of margin do you make on your parts? Now, the industry average of markup on parts was identified as being 31%. Personally, I think that's super low. So why you're marking up your parts 31%, firstly, is a question. But secondly, people's understanding of markup versus margin. So if you take that average of 31% and you had a $100 product, of course, if you mark that up, if you bought it at $100, cost you $100, you marked it up 31%, of course the selling price is $131. Pretty simple maths, you make $31 gross profit. Now you go and do some negotiation with your supplier and you actually then buy that for $90, right? What happens now? Okay, you still mark it up by 31%. So what's the numbers on that? The numbers actually equate to $117.90, which is a margin of $27.90, which means that you've just lost $3.10, which is 10% of your actual gain that you got by getting it cheaper in the first place. So you've really got to understand that you should be still making $31 out of that particular product. So you should be marking it up more if you're buying it less. So if you're getting better deals from your suppliers and making sure that you are marking and setting your selling prices correct, which is a really important point that I felt got raised in this particular industry leaders forum, which was something that I think you really should sit down and work out. In fact, should you be marking up at all? Should you be setting a retail price and giving a discount if you have to? I think that was a really important point as well. Just back on the online stuff was about reviews and about how important it was from a customer's perspective for going out and looking at the 75% that buy online or that find out online. They're looking at things like Google reviews. They're looking at stuff around what what other people have said, and that's becoming more and more and more important. So it's really important that you go and ask for your Google reviews. And the other thing was getting customers back into your workshop through things like service reminders, the text messaging for booking reminders and the text messaging for registration renewals, for example, were things that came up as well. So these are really important points for your workshop to be more successful. All of those things are super, super easy to implement in your workshop. So I thought it was a really great insight from David, the CEO at Capricorn. These are things that they've gone and surveyed the whole industry, and and it's a really important and viable survey. Check out the link to the survey because there's some gold in there. But those particular points that David mentioned were, I felt, super important, certainly for our user base, but generally for the industry. So if you want to look at some of those things, you've got to look at your online bookings, your margins, your Google reviews, and your text messaging to booking reminders and service reminders and so on. So some important takeaways that I got. Hope you find this valuable. Really appreciate your input. Any help you need, just let me know. All the best.